Hello everyone. Today I am going to explain my project. We have done a project on prediction of in-power generation by using regression method. We used a regression method, one of a type of machine learning. Wait, I will explain the machine learning types one by one. In machine learning, there are three types of learning: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Supervised learning means the data has labeled data because which means both the inputs and outputs are labeled, but in the unsupervised learning the inputs are labeled but the outputs are not get labeled. In reinforcement learning, it it will do some work task and it will get the output as success or failures. It is considered as a reward for it. We want both the input and output as a label, so we choose the supervised learning. In supervised learning there are two types: classification and regression. The classification means the data will contain categorical values, which means the output will be either yes or no, true or false, or red or green, either or one. But in regression, it contains numerical values. We are working on the numerical values. So regression is used to predict the future outcomes, for example, weather forecast. So we are using the regression method. For our project, we need both the inputs and the output labels as a numerical data. So we choose the regression method. So that's why I mentioned the project by using regression method. Diagram of our project. This block diagram explains the entire project. Initially, we are collecting data from a website. It contains a data set, and we are undergoing pre-processing, and then we undergoing data visualization, and we undergo algorithm implementation. In algorithm implementation, we are implementing four algorithms, and finally we are comparing the four algorithms accuracy, and the accuracy with best algorithm is converted into a model, and the model is deployed using some Python Django frameworks. It consists of two labels such as input and output. Input consists of four labels and output consists of a single label. First, I will explain how to download the dataset from a website. We are using a website called Kaggle. In this website, first we have to type Kaggle and open the link. And here search bar we need to search like in power generation data. So these are the data. We have to choose a data with some parameters which are used for our project. So we need to click download button and get the data. I have already downloaded the data. I will show you. I have downloaded the data from for a place called Texas. This data consists of five parameters: system power generated, wind speed, wind direction, pressure, and air temperature. These four data are input data: wind speed, wind direction, pressure, and air temperature. The system power generated is output data which is used to train the model. Next, these are the modules of our project: data preparation, data visualization, linear regression algorithm, decision tree algorithm, support vector algorithm, elastic net regression, and deployment process. First, we need to download the dataset which I have already told you. Our dataset consists of 8,760 rows, which means 8,760 informations. This data consists of five parameters. As I have already told, these are the input data and it is the output data. These data are generally downloaded in a format called CSV, which is nothing but the Excel sheet. And then we are undergoing the process called pre-processing. In this data pre-processing, we are removing some unwanted data and converting into a finite data. These are the steps that which include the pre-processing process. First, we need to getting the data set. I have told already that we need to download the data from a website, and we need to import some libraries called NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. NumPy is basically used to undergo some numerical operations, and Pandas is a famous library which is used for uh, managing and importing the dataset. And Matplotlib is a 2D dimensional plotting library which is used to draw two-dimensional arrays. We need to find the missing data, and we split the data into both two categories: splitting data into training set and test set. 80% of data for training set and 20% of data for the test set. And we are using a feature scaling process. Feature scaling is the final step of data preprocessing in machine learning. It is to standardize the independent variables of the dataset in a specific range. We put our variables in the same range and in the same scale so that no any variable dominate the other variables. This is the feature scaling. And the next step is data visualization. Data visualization is basically used for to visualize the data in a graphical representation. It is used to visualize the data for human beings. Our data consists of thousands of columns. The humans are read each and every column. So we use the data visualization process to visualize the data. These are the steps involved in data pre-processing. First, we need to pre-process the data. I will explain my pre-processing method in a code, and then we have to choose the right visualization type like a bar chart or a graphical chart. I have choose a graphical chart, and then we need to create the visualization, and we need to test the data. We can also refine the visualization by making some adjustments. To do this process, we need to download Anaconda software. So I have already downloaded the Anaconda software. We need to open it. In this, we need to launch the Jupyter notebook. I have already do some codes which is in the desktop. This is the data pre-processing. I will explain each line by line. First, we have imported the pandas as PD and numpy as NP. In this, we have imported a warnings package. This is used to filter some unwanted warnings. And this is the Texas turbine datasheet we have downloaded for our project. To import this dataset, we have used a Panda library and running this. Then head, it will show the head of the dataset, which means first four rows. Then it will show the shape, which means 8760 columns and 6 rows. And the size of the data is 52,560. And this drop now is used to drop some null values. This column, it will execute the number of columns present in our data set, which is the input and output parameters. Tail is used to execute the last 5 rows of the project, which means the last 5 rows of the data set. Is I have already told the shape, size. The describe is used to display this values count, means standard deviation, minimum 25%, 50%, 75% maximum. And then we run means we will get these values. it will give the information of the data frame. It will check for any null values. If there is any null value, it will give us true, otherwise it will give us false. So there is no null value, so it executes as zeros. And we are renaming the parameters. This column, it will execute the columns. Here you can see the maximum power generated, minimum power generated, mean of the system power, median of the system power generated, mode of the system power generated. Finally, it will search for any duplicated values. There is no any duplicated values, so it will give us false. There is no any duplicated, so it gives us 0. The next processing is uh, visualization the data. This also needs the Jupyter notebook to visualize the data. Same as like data preprocessing, it includes the same process. Here we have used the histogram chart, so it visualizes the data as histogram. Here we have used the box plot to plot the diagram. Here also use the box plot, and finally make histogram. This is the histogram graphical representation for the whole project. The next step is implementing algorithm. These are the 4 algorithms we have implemented for our project. First one is linear regression method, decision tree regression method, support vector regression, and elastic net regression. Linear regression is used to model the relationship between dependent variable and one or more independent variable. Dependent variable is nothing but the input data such as air temperature, air pressure, and wind speed and wind direction. The independent variables are the outputs. Both these join together draw a finite line, best fit line. If you give some data which is used to test the data, it will get some point, and based on that point, we will find the line and found output. A linear equation is in the form of y is equal to b0 plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2 plus bn xn. This also needs a code, as I have already coded. These are the codes for the linear regression process. In this we can find the accuracy which has 91 percentage. We will go for the next algorithm is decision tree regression. It works by creating a tree-like structure where each node asks a question about one of the input feature. It has two nodes. They are decision node and leaf node. If the input data is true, it will go for the decision node. Whether it will go for the leaf node. Again, it will go for leaf node. It also requires some codings which I have already coded. In this, you can see the accuracy. It shows accuracy 99 percentage. In linear regression, we got 91. In decision regression, we got 98.9. After that, we move for the third regression process, which is the support vector regression. It is similar to the linear regression process. It also have inputs as independent variables and outputs as dependent variables. Based on the both independent and dependent variables, a curve is drawn. If a test data is given, it will take a plot, and based on this curve, the output will be found. This support vector regression is also needs some codes. See the support vector regression. You can see here the accuracy is just 3%. It is much lower than the both linear and decision tree regression. So we don't go for it. And the next regression is elastic net regression. It is a statistical method. It is a combination of both lasso regression and ridge regression. A lasso regression adds L1 penalty while ridge regression adds L2 penalty. The L1 penalty shrinks some of the regression coefficients to 0, while the L2 penalty shrinks the values of the remaining coefficients towards 0. It also needs some codes. I will open it and explain. You can see the accuracy is 91%. While comparing to decision tree and linear regression, the decision tree has accuracy more than the other three. So we converting this decision tree algorithm into a model, and we are executing this deployment process is to visualize the data. In this deployment process, the algorithm is best accuracy is converted into a PKL model. To deploy that process, you need to launch the Visual Studio Code. In this Visual Studio Code, we can deploy our process. Yeah. I need to open the file with codes. Yeah, this is the deployment code I have selected. Here we have saved the algorithm with best accuracy into a model. So here you can deploy our process. First we need to open a terminal, new terminal. And here we need to open a command prompt. We need to type some codes as python .py run server, and we need to press enter. We found a link, need to press by control and press the click button on the mouse. Yeah, we have found parameters. The output will execute here. You can copy this input from there. Wheel speed, direction, and then press start. And then add temperature. Two values after the decimal points. So we are removing extra decimals, extra decimal values. So while predict, we get the output as when power generated is 1749.88 kilowatt. This is the output for our project. Thank you.